Hi, folks. I am back with a update here. We have been on our second full week of school now, going on to the third week here, and it's that time to give you another update. So I want to talk about a few things today, and I'll try to be as brief as I can so this doesn't get too long. So first, and probably one of the more important things, I made this announcement for all students to see. So when they open up our Schoology page, at the top is the pacing guide that they should try to follow. So if you look here, it breaks all of our modules down in the first semester or marking period. I'm sorry, so third marking period of this year. They have to go from this click here to get started down to this module 4. The extra credit is purely optional, it's not needed. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So these are the items that have to be completed this marking period. Using this pacing guide here, if they follow this, it actually gets them done a week early. Right? All work has to be turned in, and it shows it for students right here by Friday, March 21st. Work is not marked missing or late or anything like that until after this time frame. So they don't need to worry about that. I had some students ask if they can still turn stuff in. Yes, this is just a suggestion up here, right? And if they follow this suggestion, they'll do well. So we're already past this point where the introduction, which is that folder, and module 1 really should be done by this time. If it's not the end of the world. They still have plenty of time to get caught up. This one, there's really not much work. It's just getting used to taking an online course. And then we start to get into some information we'll talk about. So in here, if they can follow this, again, it'll keep them on pace to be able to make sure all the work's completed. I have some students who have already done all the work for the marking period, which is great. Right? They can just sit back and relax and wait for the fourth marking period to get here, where there'll be 5 more modules. So wanted to go over that. It's available to students. Hopefully they're actually taking a peek at that. Yesterday, I sent out a message via Schoology to every single student who has not submitted the first assignment. So they should have received a message if that's them. Hopefully that was their gentle reminder that, hey, it's time to get started. I'm asking you, and this is part of an online course that's kind of challenging from a teacher perspective. I really need some help from families with this. If you could go in and check and see if at least the assignment called Who Are You is completed. So if you go into PowerSchool, there'll be a whole bunch of listing of assignments that are there. If there's no scores for anything, that means that no work was completed. Personally, I think it's easier to go into the Schoology gradebook. Over here on the side, mine says gradebook. Yours would just say grades. You could go in there and you could see it as well. If you have no idea, just send me an email and I'll let you know if the child you're responsible for has started any of the work. On to the course itself. So in this introductory work folder, there was a couple things in here. One is just a who are you? So they introduce themselves to me, just so I can kind of get to know them a little bit without seeing people face to face. It's kind of a nice way to get to know them. Then it talks a little bit about what to do to get started in the course and go from there. Talk about the advantages of taking an online course, and then there's a self-assessment kind of to see where they stand in terms of being prepared to take the course. And then the final one is how you can be successful. So some of these basic things that they need to do, kind of set up and understand. And then there is a small little quiz, if you want to call it that, at the end. So that is that very first folder. Pretty simple. Like I said, more about getting used to an online course. The resources folder is just where a bunch of information is available for both families and students. There's a lot of information in there. I'm going to talk about Module 1 and Module 2 specifically here today. In Module 1, it talks all about how to become a licensed driver in Pennsylvania. So there's a short video students will watch here, basically talking about the risk associated with driving, especially as an inexperienced young driver. All right. If you know anything about some of the crash statistics and things like that insurance companies put out there, the youth age group up until about 21 is where we tend to see the highest incident rate. And then it goes to the tail end of the spectrum. But that's one of the things that we really try to stress to students is it is a risk to go out and drive, and it's a huge responsibility. So hopefully that assignment gives them some of that information. This talks about a graduated driver licensing program, which all that means is you go through a series of stages. In Pennsylvania, we have a learner's permit stage, we have a junior license stage, and then you get your actual license. So we have a 3-stage system, just like most states do in the country here. How to become licensed in Pennsylvania. This is specific to PA. There is a great, helpful guide that's contained in here. It talks all about getting licensed in Pennsylvania. This is an Ed puzzle, which is a video with questions, and it's trying to understand why we need auto insurance and the helpfulness that it could provide us if need be. The last part of it here is, again, a short little assessment. Students have to answer 12 of the 15 questions correctly, which can be a little bit challenging because there's a lot of information specific to Pennsylvania law. So that is the first module. The second module, we start to get more into the actual driving process. So recognizing all the signs, signals, markings on the roads, things like that. So we break signs down into kind of 3 different categories. We have guide, we have regulatory, and then we have warning signs. These are some videos explaining all of the differences between those. The shape of a sign, the color of a sign, those are all ways that we can kind of indicate what type of sign is trying to alert drivers of. Talks about signals, different types of traffic signals, and then different lane markings. Right? These are all videos. I think it's better to do a visual for students. So that's why we do them in that fashion. This is actually a little quiz that they can use to test their knowledge of signs. A lot of students say they want to learn all about signs when they take this course. It's a pretty good way to do that. This is all about traffic signals, more information on road markings, and then again, there's an assessment. So really trying to get students used to the environment that they're driving in. Those are the first 2 modules. I'll come back later and talk about the third module, which is, in my opinion, the most important part of the whole process. It's basically the mental side of driving. Physically, most people can drive fairly well. The mental side is where we tend to see the issues occur. The last module for this marking period is actually controlling a vehicle. And as a heads up, students are asked to use a vehicle and operate some of the basic controls, turning on the headlights, turn signals, using windshield wipers. So there is an assignment in there where students are actually going to video themselves doing that. If you're asked to help with that, that's what that assignment's about. I'll talk more about it at a later time. If you do have questions, if you're unsure of anything, please let me know. I try to send these videos out kind of coincidentally with these due dates that we have up here in this pacing guide. Again, if you have questions, let me know. Have a great rest of the week.